Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode. I've got some comic books to review for you all this week, and I've even got a little bit of comic book news. What do you say you strap yourselves in and grab your butts, and let's do this? Alright, what's up? What's going on, everyone? Thank y'all. So I thought I've got kind of a short episode for y'all this week. Not a whole lot of comic books to talk about. Uh, so I thought I would just throw out a little bit of comic book news that came out today, actually. And sadly, it's got to be some negativity. But here we go. So apparently, DC Comics has canceled pre orders for Brian Edward Hill and Dexter Soy's Batman and the Outsiders issue number 1. Now, don't hold on a second. Hold on a second. Because the title will be resolicited later on this year. So it's not being canceled. So Hill stated on Twitter, following some rumors that the title had been canceled outright, and that was just, he was like, that's flat out wrong. The pre-orders are being canceled because apparently he has to make some adjustments per other DCU events, but it will be resolicited after the adjustments have been made, as I understand it, quote unquote. So, these things happen. I'm sure there's probably a continuity issue. I think Batman and the Outsiders is going to be a canon book, so they want to make sure that continuity stays where it's supposed to. And I think there was some miscommunication, I'm sure, somewhere. So fear not. This is only the second time in recent months, so it's not it's not that bad. It's only the second time in the last few months that DC's done something like this, and it's a normal thing for comic books still, but So let's move on to some comic books, huh? Yeah, let's talk about something a little bit brighter. To start off this week, we have Uncanny X-Men issue number 2. Now, I will admit, apparently I didn't read good enough when I initially was looking at this series. I didn't know this was going to be a weekly thing. So every single week until it gets bad, you'll get an issue of Uncanny X-Men from me. So here we go. So apparently some extinct animals have for some reason come back to life and are terrorizing the world. Yeah, I know. Extinct animals have come back to life and are terrorizing the world. Extinct animals have come back to life and are terrorizing the world. How do you start a book like that? There's this giant jump. We'll get to that later. So every superhero team on the planet is out there right now trying to fight them off. You got the Avengers and all the different Avengers teams and different X-Men teams, and you got Alpha Flight and all the Canadian teams and the English teams out there and everybody from Europe, and it's chaos all over the planet. And Jean decides that she's going to send a team to deal with Multiple Man, who is in Kansas right now because he's just magically reappeared out of nowhere. And she's going to take a team to the Rockies to deal with some dinosaurs that showed up. That's right, I said dinosaurs that showed up.
What?
And that they're just going to leave the younger, less inexperienced X-Men at home. So in Kansas, Storm and her team are being overwhelmed by Multiple Man, while Jean and her team, kick some butt on some dinosaurs. cool enough, X-23 and her badass sexiness gets eaten by a T-Rex, but then claws her way out from the inside, just ripping ripping the thing to shreds. So yeah, uh, but back at the X Mansion, an old foe returns to offer a helping hand. Yeah, so give me the dun dun thing. Thank you. God Almighty, why do I even write the scripts? I don't know. So yeah, I there was some kind of time. If you're gonna do a weekly series, you can't just do time jumps like this. I felt like there was probably a several day time jump that just all of a sudden happened, maybe even a week or a couple of weeks that came out of nowhere. I guess I don't know. I couldn't have missed anything because I went from issue 1 to issue 2, so it just felt like there's a huge time gap here. And I wasn't okay with it because just all of a sudden out of nowhere, we've got dinosaurs and, uh, ancient creatures running around that, have been extinct for millions of years, if not thousands of years, and things of that nature. So that kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. But I'm sure they'll kind of explain that later on as the comic goes on. God, I sure hope so. Because right now there are just so many questions. We have no idea what's going on. Why is Multiple Man acting like he is? Why was he looking for Jean? Where did Kitty and the Senator go? Technically, we kind of know, but I don't want to spoil anything for you. Shh. So, read the comic book. All right, let's move on to Weapon X, issue number 26. So, the team's gone to hell.
What?
Yeah, they went to hell. And they got there with the help of Azazel, who basically killed them and is now using his ability to slow their healing factors. He's kind of stopping time and keeping them in these little time vacuum bubble things. So Sabretooth is woken up in a hospital where his son is screaming in pain, and he's like, wait a minute, this is real, you're dead. And he's like, I know I am, this is hell. And he's like, wait, am I in hell? And he's like, yeah, you're in hell, I'm in hell. And so Sabretooth has decided he's going to save his son. Deadpool is in his own personal hell doing stand-up forever while absolutely nobody laughs, because Deadpool doesn't have jokes. He's witty, he's got one-liners, he's not, he doesn't have jokes, he's Deadpool. Domino, of course, her version of hell is spending all of her time listening to Deadpool and all of his one-liners. Poor Domino. How long can you go listening to Deadpool's one-liners for the rest of eternity before you decide you want to blow your own brains out? That's a good question. Mystique and Omega Red show up and save everybody, and then the Devil appears and asks, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And they're like, hey, we're looking for Stryker. We killed him, but he keeps coming back, so we've come to hell so that we can kill him here in hell to prevent him from coming back. But yeah, time's not really on their side. And, this... I'm not really sure about this Weapon X series anymore. I've been reading it since the beginning, and I've been really enjoying it for the most part. Probably in a few issues. I feel like Weapon X has kind of hit kind of a slump. I think the new X-Force book that is coming out is supposed to replace this, but I don't know for sure. I haven't actually done any research to confirm that, so don't take my word on that. But I kind of hope that it does. Either way, I'm going to be reading X-Force, so you'll get that as well. But yeah, Weapon X recently has been kind of, I don't know, it hasn't been doing it for me, and it's like I don't know, maybe I'm just getting bored with it, even though that they have been doing really good with their art, and the stories have been, short story arcs, which is good. It's not, these 8 or 9 epic events that are going on in and of themselves, or these short little 2 and 3 issue story arcs, which is completely fine. But I don't know, it's just they're in hell, and it's like we've come to kill somebody who is already in hell. What? I don't know. So moving on. How about The Punisher, issue number 4? Yeah, everybody likes a good Punisher comic, I think. So the Punisher has been arrested by the local cops, and Jigsaw has shown up with the Chameleon dressed as Nick Fury, and I guess they are going to try to convince the police to release him to Nick Fury. But Frank, of course, knows that that's not Nick Fury, and Shield disbanded and calls the cops stupid because. And of course, the cops believe it, and they go to release Frank, and all hell breaks loose. So Frank manages to get a gun, and he shoots one of the guys that Jigsaw brought, and then Jigsaw, man, he kills all of the cops in the room, and then it's just all out war between Jigsaw, his men, and Frank. And of course, who do you think is going to win? Gee, I wonder who could possibly win in a fight between the Punisher and a bunch of rando, mercs. I wonder who would win in a fight against that. I don't even know. So, basically, Frank sets the place on fire in order to win the fight, and he manages to escape. Jigsaw and Chameleon manage to escape, and later back at Frank's hideout, Black Widow shows up and is like, dude, like, we busted you out of prison once before. You're screwing this up. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why? You're drawing attention to yourself. And she's pissed. Frank is like, look, I understand. I'm looking for the Hydra hierarchy. This happened. Help me out a little bit. And so she points him in the direction of a Hydra, like, recruitment center. And he goes in and just kills everybody. All the recruits, Hydra agents. The guy in charge of the recruitment center manages to escape, but Frank manages to catch one of the Hydra underlings, and as he begins to interrogate him, an enemy wearing some of the rings of the Mandarin show up. So, yeah. That's gonna happen. Back in, I think, issue 1 or 2, I don't remember which issue it was. In this run, Frank killed the Mandarin, and he shot him in the face. So, did he kill him? I remember him shooting in the face with a special bullet that the Mandarin couldn't stop with his special powers. No, I believe he killed him. I remember him shooting him in the face at the UN. It was very public. So, anyway, that's the Punisher for you. Even with the previous run on the Punisher, this has been actually really good. I had thought about giving it up once he got rid of the War Machine armor, because I was really like, when he's wearing the freaking Punisher War Machine. I mean, come on, like, how do you get much more violent, gory, and unnecessarily just death, destruction, and carnage? But I'm really enjoying this new run on the Punisher. He's still after the Hydra hierarchy, especially Baron Zemo. I'm curious to see what happens when he catches up with Zemo. That's where I'm going. So let's move on to Justice League Dark issue number 5. Hold on. I know. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what the heck is going on in Justice League comic books. I have been reading the main Justice League comic book with the whole Drowned Earth thing. I'm not even going to talk about that, except to tell y'all that right now the Justice League main story arc is and even a little, but a whole lot of. Okay. I don't know. The Justice League Dark book, I think it's better than the main story arc. Scott Snyder is writing Justice League, and I can't even right now. So we're going to talk about some Justice League Dark. So Wonder Woman's decided that she's going to take some of the jail team to the realm of Mira and try to find a way to stop the other kind who, are basically just like demons from a dark dimension that are just trying to devour everything that is magical in our realm. And apparently we find out that Bobo cast a spell years ago, and things aren't what they used to be. At the Tree of Wonder, Swamp Thing and Constantine do their best to fight off Nobu, until their fight brings the Phantom Stranger in to stop Nobu so they can have a chat. Yeah. Like I said, this the Justice League Dark book is definitely better than the current run on the main Justice League title. And Justice League Odyssey is doing even better. I really, really like where Justice League Odyssey is going. But it doesn't look like the other. It doesn't look like Justice League Dark and the main Justice League title is going to be sticking around for very long, and which hurts because I absolutely love Scott Snyder's writing. I don't know, maybe it's just because he's so used to telling short story arcs, but having a much larger, grander much larger plan. In the end, I don't know. It just feels like his run on Batman was just 1,000 times leaps and bounds better than his current run on Justice League, which, as I told you before, is so there you have it. That's my opinion. Please, if you don't like my opinion, you can go, sit on attack. I really don't care. That's my opinion, and it's my show, so golf. All right. Last, and certainly not least, is a comic book that I have been looking forward to for just really a long time. This was announced, I think, back in June or July, and just I can't wait to see where this is going. So this is Middlewest issue number 1. And this is the story of Abel, who lives in Middlewest with his jerk of a father. And let me tell you, jerk of a father doesn't even really cover it. But on a Saturday, when Abel is supposed to be delivering newspapers, he instead runs off to spend time with his friends and play video games. At the corner market, the boys are caught trying to steal a bunch of stuff, and the store owner calls everybody's parents instead of the cops, thank goodness, but not for Abel. When his dad comes to pick him up, they get home, and the two of them get into this very heated argument, and, things are said, names are called, somebody drops the F-bomb, and the father becomes so angry that he actually turns into this giant tornado creature straight out of Abel's nightmares. And this giant tornado creature comes after Abel. Well, Abel runs away, and thanks to his friend, a talking fox, which I hope we get an explanation on later, because I can't decide if it's a real fox that actually talks because of the realm they're in, or if it's like just an imaginary friend. I can't tell just from reading the context of the story. But they manage to escape the town as it's being destroyed by his father by jumping onto a train. And that's it. So, basically, this is the start of an epic magical journey. This is going to be the story of Abel as he goes on this journey to learn about his family and who he is and where he comes from. And initially, I hadn't seen anything that gave me any kind of indication as to that this was in some kind of fantasy realm, and so I kind of figured that this was going to be kind of a story about a boy just, dealing with his nightmares come to life. Well, that's 100% not true. If you read, the footnotes in the back and the aftermath, the afterword, I guess, you get a better sense of where the story is kind of headed, and it is an epic mystical quest, as it were. And written by Scotty Young, and of course, anything by Scotty Young is something I'm all aboard on. But the art is being done by George Corona, and his art, and coupled on with Hiddleston's ink work is absolutely magical and absolutely fabulous. And if you did not get a chance to pick up Middlewest issue number 1, get your hands on it. Pick it up digital if you have to. I know I I say that every so often. I'm a big supporter of local comic shops, and I would rather you support your local comic shop. However, there are times where comic books get to be a little hard to come by, and digital is sometimes the only way to go, at least to get the story. You know, that way you don't have to wait for the trade to come out in 6 months. So, but that's it for this week's comic books, and even a little bit of news. Who knows? Maybe I'll just, give a little news snippet every so often. Maybe it'll be a weekly thing again. I don't know. It didn't make me feel squishy inside. So we'll have to wait and see. But tune in next week as I talk some more comic books. Yeah. I know. Nobody likes hearing about my comic books, but yet every week you all come and sit and listen to me talk about comic books. So you know what? You can all go yourselves, okay? Until next week.